So in the last video, we understand how we can create a what is actually function, how we can create a function, how we can execute, how we can define, and how we can call it. Now the next thing is how see if I'm creating a function, no, like def. Suppose I'm taking the name here or anything else like I have a function like name. Any function you can take. I'm taking the function as ABC. Okay, and I'm just printing here hello. Okay, so what will happen when I'm going to run this code? It will not give me any output just because of we just define it, not calling it, no? Now when we are going to call this function, okay, now it starts executing it. Now you can see here. Okay. If the name is not matched, you can see it will give you the error that this ABC is not defined. Did you mean ABC? Okay, so make sure the name of the function is exactly correct. Now, the next thing is we can do one more thing here like this one. So def, let's see XYZ. And here I'm using return value. Okay, return, let's see. I'm just using here 1, 2, 3. Okay, anything you can write here. But the thing is, when I'm going to run this code, it will not execute. Why? Because we just define it. Let's call it also. So I'm calling this function. When you're going to run this code, you can see the output here. The output is only hello. We are not getting here XYZ. Why? The problem is here we are calling this function XYZ, which is calling this function absolutely, but it returned the value 1, 2, 3. It is just returning the value. What we want to display it in the output screen also. And every time if you want to display anything in the output screen, you need to use the print statement. Okay, so do it like this. I want to print whatever we get from this XYZ function. Now, here you can see, first of all, ABC, because internally we are using print statement. So it prints the output here, hello. And then because it returned the value 1, 2, 3, but unable to print, so that we are using here externally, we are using the print statement. So print 1, 2, 3 here. Now, you can do it like this also. Return print 1, 2, 3. So this is also a way which you can use like this one. You will get the same answer here also. It will not make any difference. One more thing you can do here. What will happen? Okay, just let me know what will happen if I'm going to run this code like this. Okay, will it print 2 times 1, 2, 3, or it will generate error, or nothing will happen? Okay, try to find it out. Let me run this. So basically what will happen now, when you're going to execute, let me just comment it out. This one, there is no need of this one. Let's comment it. Now you can see here, first of all, XYZ, okay, return print at 1, 2, 3. So when you're going to call this function, it return print 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3 will display in the output screen, cursor will be next line. Now you can see whatever we're returning from the XYZ function, we want to print it. Now, this already print the statement. Now we have nothing to print. And every time if we have extra print, it gives you none. Okay, so let's run this code. When you're going to run this code, you can see here 1, 2, 3 and none here. Why none? Because here there is nothing to print. Okay, now if I'm writing here only 1, 2, 3, okay, now I'm writing it like this, print XYZ. Now try to find out what will happen now. Okay, will it generate error, or it will generate some kind of 2 times 1, 2, 3 and all? So let's see. First of all, whatever we are getting, okay, it will return 1, 2, 3. So it prints the return value of XYZ. So by using this print statement, it print 1, 2, 3, because will be next line. This extra print, it have nothing to print, no. So in this case, basically it will generate the none value because it has nothing to print. Let's see. Run this code, and again we are getting the same value 1, 2, 3 and none. Now what will happen if I'm using one more print function? So again you can see here this XYZ return 1, 2, 3, which printed by this print statement. This print have nothing to print, so none. This print also have nothing to print, so none. So 2 times none and 1 time 1, 2, 3 will be appear here. Let's check it out. Let's run this code and you can see the output. So do not confuse here. What will happen if you have more than one print statement? Whenever you are getting none, always try to find out if you're having any extra print in the coding part. Okay, so try to understand that things. Now, this is basically, let's talk about after that, what are the different types of functions in Python? Let's see. So types of function. So basically we have two types of function. We have inbuilt function, okay? We have inbuilt or predefined functions, or we have user defined functions. So these are the two types of functions are there. Inbuilt functions are like print function, which is by default defined by the Python programming itself. So print function or maybe func tools, lots of functions are there. Okay. User defined function is something which you are creating it by yourself. It's like XYZ function or ABC function or name function like that. Okay. Now that user defined function is also of two types. Okay. That user defined function. No, basically user defined function is of three types. First thing is default function. Then we have a parameterized function. And we have anonymous function. These are the three types of functions we have in Python. Default function you can also call as non-parameterized function. So non-parameterized function, parameterized function, and anonymous function, or you can say default, parameterized, or anonymous. Okay, let's understand all of them. So if you're defining a function and you're not using any parameter in it, just like this one. If you're creating a function def xyz, okay. So in this function, you can see we have nothing inside this parenthesis, which is basically called non-parameterized. Okay. If you have nothing inside this parameters, inside this bracket, that means it is a default or non-parameterized function. Then if we have now you can see here, when you're defining a function in that, at that place, if you're having any parameters inside or in between the parentheses, that is called parameterized function. Okay. Now, the next thing is the anonymous function. So if the function have no name or nameless functions are called anonymous function. Okay. So we already understand how actually we can create a default function, as you can see. Now let's talk about parameterized function. Let's see. So parameterized function is something whenever you're defining a function at that time, you are using some parameters as well. That is called parameterized function. Let's create one. So I'm using your def. I'm creating a function to add two numbers together. So add, and then I want to add two numbers. First of all, what are the two numbers you want to add? So as a variable, I'm taking here a and b. Now these two number I want to add also. This is how you can create. So you can see I'm creating a function where I have some parameters in between the parentheses. Okay, so this is called parameterized function. Now, how it works? So first of all, you need to call the function. So this a and b or these parameters acts like just a formal argument. Okay, in a parameterized function, we have two things. So at the definition tab, if the parameters you are using is basically called formal argument. These are called parameters or arguments as well. So at the definition time, that parameters are called formal arguments. And when you're calling the function, no, when you're calling this function, suppose in place, I want to add 2 and 7 together. Okay. So at the definition time, these variables are called formal argument. These arguments are called formal argument. Now, when you're going to run this code, how it actually works? When you're going to run this code, basically, call this add function from here. Now, this A will take the first parameter of this one, which is basically called actual argument. These are called actual argument. I'll tell you why. Actual argument. So first of all, when you're going to execute this code, this first variable take the first value of this one, which is 2. Next, formula will take the value of this one. So the actual value of A and B, because A and B acts like just a simple variable here. The actual value of A and B is 2 and 7 here. So that's why it is called formal argument, and their actual value is called actual argument here. So at the definition time, if you're using any parameter, that is called formal argument, and at the calling time, if you're using the parameter, it is called actual argument. Okay. So now when you're going to run this code, what happens? Whenever you're going to call this function, in A we got 2, in B we got 7. And always remember in Python that the number of formal arguments should always equal to the number of actual arguments. If these are not equal, it will generate error. Okay. So formal is equal to actual. So it execute whatever inside it, which is print A plus B. Print 2 plus 7, which is 9, and to print it. Let's see. So let's run this code and you can see the output here. 9. Now again, you don't need to create the function again and again. Every time you want to call the function, you can just call it by their name. Now this time I want to add 5 and 9 together. Just call the function and you can see the output here. So it's totally up to you. Okay. It may be possible that we want to take value from user and then we want to add it. So that is also possible. Let me tell you how. Let's comment it out now. So def add A comma B, and I want to add A plus B here. Okay. Now, so instead of just putting here A and B, I want to take value from user. So A is equals to input, enter the value for A. Okay. Same goes with B also. Okay. Let's run this code. So call this function, and what will be the value of A and B? I'm just passing it here. So it adds the value. Let's run this code. So you can see enter the value for A. I'm using a 45 and then 8. And you can see the answer is A is not defined. Let's see why. So print in whatever value I'm taking here. Okay. And then B. Good. Okay, let me do it like this one. Value of A and value of B. Correct? Okay. Basically what happens now? So I'm taking value from user and by default it will goes with A and B. Yes, correct. You can see here. Okay, so because I'm putting the value directly on this A and B, no, so we don't need to pass it over here. Okay. So first of all, A and B, you are calling this function. So in A, it will take value from user for A and B, which is in integer type, and then print the value of A and B. Okay. Run this code once again, you can see the output for A 23, for B it's 17, and the answer is 101. So you can take value from user and then also you can add it. This is how you can perform here parameterized function by taking value from user as well. Now, problem here is, suppose I'm taking this example for addition. So it's like this one. So def add, okay, for A and B, I'm printing here A plus B. Basically, the problem here with this function is no, like if I'm running this code, if I'm executing this code, it will add two numbers together. But this add function will only add two numbers. What about I want to multiply these two numbers? I want to subtract it and so on. So in this case, we need to create the functions one by one, all of them. Okay. So how we can use some kind of shortcut like this one. Suppose I have these function control C, V, addition and suppose subtraction for A and B, and that is for A minus B. Okay. And subtraction I'm doing for 3 and 4. Okay. And you will get the output one by one. Okay. Now the problem is I don't want to do it like this. What I want for the same function, I want to take addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, everything. So we can do it like this. We can return it like this. Return A plus B, A minus B, A cross B, and A divided by B. You can do it by using print also. It's totally up to you. Okay, so print for 3 and 4, I want to perform all these things. Let's run this code and you can see the output. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. All these things you will get in the same function. Okay, so this is how you can take values from user. This is called a parameterized function. Okay, now let's talk about some more thing. Like def, I have a function called employee, suppose, where I have name and employee ID. I want to print the name of the person and the employee ID as well. I want to write it like this. Name of the employee is the value of name. EID of the employee is the value of employee. Okay. Now let's do it like this. So I'm just going to call this function. So I'm putting here the name of the employee as keyword T and the employee ID suppose 112. So what will happen? When you're going to run this code, no, this employee will call this function from it. In name, it will take keyword T. In EID, it will take 112. So formal is equal to actual, so it execute whatever inside it. So name of the employee is the value of name, which is basically keyword T, and EID of the employee is EID, which is 112. Okay, let's do it. Run this code and you can see the output here. So name of the employee is keyword T and EID is 112. Okay, good, good. What if I'm calling this function like this one, 223 and XYZ? Now what will happen? It will generate error or it will give me the legitimate answer. Let's talk about that. So basically what happens when you're calling this function, no? In this case, in name doesn't matter what type of data you are taking. It takes the value. Okay, because it is dynamically typed. So in name now we have 223. The first value. In EID we got XYZ. Formula is equal to actual. So name of the employee is 223 and EID of the employee is XYZ. This is how it works. Okay. Now, the next thing is, suppose, let me remove this one, comment it, okay? Now, the next thing is, suppose what will happen if I'm calling it like this, employee XYZ only. In this case, what will happen? So in name, we have XYZ. In EID, we have nothing. So it generates error because in EID, we have nothing to execute. We have nothing to hold. You can see here. Employee function missing one required positional argument EID because the number of formal argument is 2 and the number of actual argument is only 1. That's why it generates error. Now, how we can fix it? Suppose I don't want to write anything inside the parameter. I don't want to pass it in the actual parameter. So we can do it like this. This is called default argument. The EID I want as 112. Okay, let's see. And you can see here name and EID. This is called default argument in Python. Okay, what will happen in this case? Suppose I'm taking here 890. Now what will happen? It will not generate any kind of error. But when you're going to run this code, in name, it takes XYZ. In EID, by default, we have 112. But here we have actual argument also, which is 890. So the actual argument overrides with the default value. Sorry. Okay. So that's why the output will be XYZ is name and the EID is 890. Okay. Not that 112 this time. Let's see. Because of we have actual argument that overrides it. Okay. And if I'm taking it like this, employee keyword T only. So it will take the default value that time. Okay. Even you can define the default value for this name also. Okay. Any random thing you can write here. It's totally up to you actually. Okay. So I'm right calling it like this employee nothing. So it will take the default value. Okay. Default value. If I'm taking the name here, let's see, Apple. So in name, it will take Apple, but EID will be 112. You can change the value of EID as well. It's totally up to you. So this is called default argument. Okay, I hope this part is clear, everyone, how we can work with uh, like how we can, what is actually formal argument and actual argument, what is inbuilt function and the inbuilt function and user defined function, and exactly what is default function, parameterized function, and how we can work with the parameters. The next thing is what is anonymous function. Let's talk about that. Let's comment it out and let's do it in the next video. Thank you.